So another question from Ed Rogers, and this will actually lead to the next thing I want to talk
Oh
about.
boy.
Says, are you afraid that Blake will get hurt by? Uh, so I don't know if he means by Ohio State or get hurt before the Ohio State game. I'm gonna assume he means the latter, like that he'll get hurt before the game, like with carries and things like that.
It's always a concern. Afraid, no, but it's always a concern. Anytime you have a player has a certain high usage rate, it's always, especially a running back, it's always a concern. I would say one thing that gives me pause to get overly concerned is the emergence of Donovan Edwards and him getting a little bit more healthier and getting his legs. And one thing you've seen pretty much every week is Donovan Edwards getting more and more carries and more involved, right? So that will obviously help reduce the chances of Blake Corum getting hurt. So, um, and I would say this too. I would say this too. And the poor kid, he really hasn't got a lot of burn ever since he's fumbled the ball. And part of the reason why he was playing was due to Donovan Edwards not being healthy. But Stokes, at times earlier in the year did show some ability with CJ Stokes, and
Yeah,
he
that
has got a
ability
lot of
goes
burn.
out the window when you put the
Dude,
ball on the ground. That's
it's so
it. That
funny.
is
He
life.
really hasn't got any burn since that play. Like not
Well,
at
but
all.
you're correct. But
It's not.
I would say number one that you can't put the ball on the ground.
I
Your
understand
first carry of that. It was his first carry of that
the
game. He
game. Yes,
fumbled, and number
yes.
two, when you think about it, the ability, like the taking away. Hold on for 1 second. What is going on in our group? In our
Oh, that's happened before. Just go and block that out.
Yeah, I'm on it. But what I was saying is to for him to get a carry, that means someone else has to not get one, right? So I got to take the ball out of Blake's hands or out of Donovan's hands, and I
That
don't
ain't
want
happening.
to. Right,
No.
exactly.
That was so
So
funny when that happened. Like CJ gives up the ball literally the very just to give Blake a spell. This is when Blake was a bell cow, right? It was like coach style, like, all right, son, sit down, Blake. You just gonna have to take us home. He's just gonna have to take us
correct.
home.
Yep.
And like you feel for the kid, and I remember when that happened, people were in the chat were like, you don't want the kid to hurt his confidence. But that's something he has to bounce back from because you know what? To Ed's point, look, things happen. You just never know. When your name's going to be called. So, but my overall point of bringing that up was I thought CJ Stokes did show some ability. So, and one thing is very clear, is especially since Harbaugh has been at Michigan, is that they do a fantastic job developing their running backs. They really do. Now, of course, natural talent does show the difference. But I'm pretty confident with whoever running back is back there that they're going to be at the very least very especially behind the way this offensive line is playing. So I'm not concerned even a little bit, regardless.
Yeah, I think he'll be just fine. I don't really have any concerns. But you had mentioned Blake Corum and what is his reality of potentially winning the Heisman Trophy or just being in the running. So I'll kick that off to you. What are your thoughts on Blake potentially getting to New York at least, and from there potentially winning the Heisman Trophy?
Well, before I go into that, let's go into like what are the aspects I think or boxes that you need to check to be a true Heisman Trophy finalist.
Okay.
And I haven't seen any state fans here in a minute in our chat, probably due to how their season is going.
Jeez, shots
But
fired.
just saying, hey man, it's rivalry week. Well, it's not rivalry week, but we're really close. It's next week. Um, but I personally thought Kenneth Walker III should have been a finalist last year. Right now, you can
Okay.
take and you can decide who should have won, who shouldn't have, should Aiden have win. If I don't care, but I thought he was that important to state. He was the main reason why they were a 10-win football team, and he had the moments of carrying his team in a big spot. So let me get that out the way. So I think you need to have one of the stats that show that you were a premier player in the game, right? It sticks out, right? I think you need to have the moments. What I mean by moments is there's a big game in you between you and a highly ranked team, and you are the driving force of the outcome of that game, right? Um, and I think it's I think part of it's due to the momentum, right? You know, like it getting better throughout the year. You can't be one of these guys that starts off hot early in the year, but then like your stats and your impact lessens throughout the year, right? It needs to be consistent. So when I look at all those aspects up till now, um, Blake has had the stats, right? He's had the 5 touchdown games. He's ran for 2. I think he ran for 300 yards earlier. I mean, one game, but definitely 260 or 270, I believe. He's had the moments thus far, right? The carrying the team versus Maryland, carrying the team versus Iowa. You saw what he did with Penn State. Of course, he had help with Donovan Edwards, but I'm just saying, like, he's that driving force. Blake Corum is he's the straw that stirs the drink from Michigan. He really is. His leadership, his consistency, his home run ability, it totally changes the outcome of the game. So from that standpoint, absolutely, I think he has earned the right as of today to be a Heisman Trophy finalist and potentially win it. He is he has been the most important player for the number 3 team in the country.